mummy's with the maggots now.
Death has come to your little town, Sheriff.
Well, hi there.
Hello, and welcome to Would You Die, the show where 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. 3, 4, better lock your door. 5, 6, get your crucifix. 7, 8, gonna stay up late. 9, 10, never sleep again. I knew the whole song!
Let's go!
As you guys can already tell, we are doing Friday the 13th.
I unmuted to make the same joke.
That's awesome.
That is funny.
We are doing A Nightmare on Elm Street, but more importantly, happy August, everybody. And happy new month for Would You Die? Austin, would you like to tell the people what this month is?
We are doing a month dedicated to the legendary master of horror, Wes Craven, a filmmaker who I deeply appreciate and am inspired by. And if I'm assuming if you're listening to this, you know who Wes Craven is. You're a fan. And I don't know, while we were kind of in the planning phases of the pod, in this iteration of it, I had the idea to I wanted to maybe experiment with like months looking at filmmakers, just kind of dedicated to a filmmaker. And I think we both agreed Wes Craven should be the first one.
Yes, absolutely. So this month is going to work a little bit differently than the rest of our months. We are going to have our first 3 weeks focusing on a different movie, just like we always do, our normal format. And then our last week of the month is going to be doing kind of a deep dive into the man, the myth, the legend himself. So if you're wondering why August, it's his birth month, right?
We are actually recording this on his birthday.
Happy birthday, Wes Craven. It is August 2nd. So, yes, we are recording this episode on his birthday. Pretty excited about it. But yeah, so this is going to look a little bit differently. The first 3 episodes of the month, like I said, are going to look very similarly to what you're used to. And then our last episode will be kind of like a researched deep dive into his life, his inspirations, and kind of how he makes his movies and how that translates into the context of horror in general.
Yeah, it'll be really fun to kind of do a deep dive into a master of horror.
For sure.
Which he actually, maybe I should save this for the biography episode, but I'm just going to say it now because it's in my mind. He actually did not care to be a master of horror. He wanted to do other types of movies as well, but you know, he also he came from a working blue collar class family, and he's like, I do get to make movies. So
Yes.
he's respectful of the horror genre. He appreciates the horror genre, but he did want to make other movies.
Yes.
Which he did get the opportunity to, and if you subscribe to our Patreon, only $3 a month, you may hear our thoughts about his one not horror movie.
Yes, for sure. If you don't know, or if you haven't caught on, our Patreon is dedicated. We have 1 episode a month. We're going to be putting out more content than just this, but we have 1 episode a month dedicated to whatever the theme is, but just in a non-horror movie context. So that is kind of what you're going to see over there, is a Wes Craven movie that doesn't fall into the horror genre. So.
And you Wes Craven fans already know what it is.
Probably, because there's like only one.
Yeah. You don't even need the process of elimination. There's just one.
So, jumping into A Nightmare on Elm Street, the kind of brief synopsis, again, obviously, as always, spoilers for A Nightmare on Elm Street. If you've made it this far into the podcast and you've never seen Nightmare, I don't really... congratulations, I guess. Now would be a good time.
Well, some people haven't seen Jaws.
That's true.
I'm seeing it now.
So you can never make an assumption.
That's true, yes.
I know people who haven't seen Star Wars.
Yeah.
But Nightmare's pretty big.
But Nightmare's pretty big in the horror genre. So,
yeah. Mainstream, I'd argue.
Yes. So, Nightmare on Elm Street, 4 teenagers are plagued by recurring nightmares that end up turning real as they discover secrets about their community's past and legends that their parents fought to protect them against. The focus is mainly on Nancy and her boyfriend Glenn and their 2 friends, Tina and Rod, who are dealing with these recurring nightmares that star the one and only Freddy Krueger.
Yeah.
So, Austin, what's your personal connection with this movie?
So, Nightmare on Elm Street, I watched this for the first time. My mom showed it to me when I was in early high school. Mm-hmm. So, I want to say I was either 14 or 15. I think I've said this on the pod before, but I started getting into horror movies while I was in high school. I've always had a fascination with monster movies, but once I hit high school, that's when I started watching slasher films and ghost movies and, movies that weren't Alien and Predator and Jaws. But A Nightmare on Elm Street is part of, I call it like the class of horror movies that got me into horror while I was in high school. Around this time was the first time I saw Scream. Scream was huge for me. Another Wes Craven film. The Ring. Saw, and these are all movies that my mom showed me, and then I in turn showed my friends. Mm-hmm. So, little side tangent. Do you know the movie Seven?
Yeah.
My mom shows me Seven, and then I swear to God, I showed like a bunch of the other marching band kids Seven, and we would have like horror movie nights, and I'm usually the one picking the movie. Not always, but usually I am. But Nightmare is part of this class. So when I think of Nightmare, I think of high school, which is interesting because it's a high school movie.
Right.
But from there, I didn't get into the franchise until 2021 when I did a deep dive on the Nightmare movies for the Freddy Krueger episode of Old Would You Die, the first iteration back when it was a YouTube show. And that was the first time I saw most of the Freddy movies. I had only seen A Nightmare on Elm Street up until that point. Now I love the whole franchise, but the original is my favorite. Mm-hmm. And it's just one of my favorite movies now. It's currently on my Letterboxd top 4.
Nice.
Although, I'll be honest, I like to rotate it with Scream. Mm-hmm. Scream's another favorite of mine.
Yeah.
It's just kind of based on my mood, which one I like more.
Fair.
I like them the same. They're both 5-star bangers for Austin. The spoilers for later when we do the Letterboxd recap. But I love this movie.
Nice.
If I love it more than Scream, I'm not sure. It just really depends on the day.
Right.
But today it's Nightmare.
Nice.
How about you?
So I saw Nightmare on Elm Street for the first time when I was 20. I had just watched Scream, and Scream very immediately became like my favorite horror movie franchise. It still is to this day. And so once I saw Scream, I knew I had to see classic Wes Craven Nightmare. I mean, just in general because of the fact that it's like a classic horror movie to watch, but also because it is Wes Craven. So yeah, that was kind of my personal connection. I still haven't seen any of the sequels to Nightmare on Elm Street. I've only seen the first one.
Well, I was late to that too,
yeah.
so.
But yeah, so I saw Nightmare, like the original Nightmare, after watching Scream, and kind of wanted to see the precursor to Scream. Mm-hmm. And like where a lot of the tongue-in-cheek tropes from Scream came from.
And sorry to bounce around a little bit, but I feel like this is where the conversation is going to naturally lead us. Mm-hmm. Freddy is what we call one of the big 3 for horror movies. Right. Slashers particularly, but for horror. Mm-hmm. It's Michael, it's Jason, and it's Freddy.
Yep.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
This is the first of the big 3 that we're covering.
Yes.
Who is your personal favorite of the big 3?
So my favorite, it's close. I have kind of a tie for 2. Not to speak bad about the third, but I have kind of a tie for 2. But I think Michael Myers squeaks by Freddy by just a margin. But I do really love Freddy, so I guess my ranking would be Michael Myers, then Freddy Krueger, then Jason. But what about you?
So this is gonna sound interesting, but it makes sense in my head.
Okay.
As like slashers or characters, it's Mikey My number 1, Freddy's number 2, and Jason's a very close 3. Because I kind of love Jason.
Yeah.
But I just love the other 2 a little bit more. I think Mikey My is like my favorite.
Yeah.
By a bigger margin, but I still love them all. But if you're asking me in terms of movies, I would put Nightmare first as a franchise.
Fair.
Then Halloween. Then Friday the 13th. I promise I love Friday the 13th, but when it comes to the big 3, Jason's last on any metric. How about you, Jeremy?
So
I'm gonna put you on the spot.
I'm a bit of a classic horror novice. Now, like, I was raised, my dad showed me a lot of like the classic horror movies. So I'm talking like Wolfman, Dracula,
Yeah.
like
Frankenstein,
those movies,
like
right?
the old, yeah.
But when it comes to like the classics, this is gonna be, you guys are gonna be like insulted. I've only seen A Nightmare on Elm Street.
You've never seen any of the Halloween movies?
So I was introduced to the Halloween movies through the Rob Zombie ones, which I do not enjoy. That's not to say they're bad movies, but I don't like them.
I get it.
Austin has opinions on Rob Zombie's Michael Myers,
so
I understand.
Yeah. I love Rob Zombie, by the way.
This is just a weird. I don't like to do like the whole name droppy thing, but
yeah.
I was introduced to those movies because my dad had a very, very good friend named Tommy Clufetus, who is a big Detroit area musician, whose son, Tommy Clufetus Jr., was, at the time those movies came out, Rob Zombie's drummer.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So because of that, my dad was like, we got to watch the Rob Zombie movies. We have this connection to Rob Zombie. And then the movies ended, the credits rolled, and my dad and I were like, well, first my dad was like, I'm sorry, you are way too young for me to have shown you these films.
How old were you?
2007 is
2007, like 9.
Yeah.
So
I may have caused some damage.
Yeah. So by default, Freddy's my number 1.
Okay.
I've seen some. This is crazy. I've seen some of the sequels to Friday the 13th, as well as like the most modern remake, starring Jared Padalecki. But I have not seen the original Friday the 13th.
That's not as crazy, I think. I think of the big 3, Friday the 13th, especially the original movie, is the least famous.
Yeah.
I think that's true, yeah.
I'm not trying to be mean, but like A Nightmare on Elm Street is a bona fide classic.
Yeah.
That has been selected by the Library of Congress to be part of the National Film Registry, which is a very big deal.
Right.
I also believe Halloween was selected.
Yeah.
I'm unsure about. I know for sure Nightmare because I saw the headlines. You know.
And see, like
Friday the 13th was not.
Right. Well, and these are definitely blind spots. These are movies I for sure need to see. And we'll get to them. But simply because I love like Scream. Yes. And like Scream borrows from all of them. Right? So that's like, there's definitely things that like I miss in a lot of more modern horror movies that are like either allusions to or like an ode to those classic movies. So I definitely need to get to them. But yeah, by default, Freddy Krueger, number 1.
Fair.
I think that's good. Not to keep putting you on the spot, Jeremy, but what is your personal connection to A Nightmare on Elm Street? We didn't ask you.
Yeah, so growing up, so I grew up with divorced parents. My mom got all the religious holidays and Thanksgiving. So my mom got all the holidays. And my dad got Halloween for some reason. So I would go to my dad's house like after trick-or-treating, because I would usually go trick-or-treating, and then he would like get me for the night. And the first time I ever saw this movie was with him at his house. It was on like AMC, so I saw it very doctored and made suitable for cable television.
Yeah.
Right along with commercial breaks. So it gave like young, like 10-year-old Jeremy enough time to like, okay, like that was really intense, but this is a Buick ad. You know. So but yeah, I always really enjoyed it. It's one of my favorite, like, of the quote unquote classic horror films. I don't know that I've seen any of the sequels either. There's a chance I've seen them in passing and not like really, like more like at a Halloween party and it's on kind of thing, but I don't know that I've seen any of them, like sat down and watched them.
Well, it took me a long time to see the sequels as well. I just don't know if they were as accessible, because like Halloween, I feel like especially in October, they're always playing a Michael Myers movie on cable.
Yeah.
And then Friday the 13th, I feel like I saw a lot of those sequels just like, I know I've seen Jason X on the Sci-Fi Channel like 4 times in my lifetime. And like on AMC, they call it AMC Fear Fest. I feel like that's my go-to in October, at least. I feel like they've always had like Jason movies and Michael movies. Freddy movies I never really saw on TV. I had to search them out.
Right.
So when I watched the original Nightmare in high school, my mom and I, we just bought the Blu-ray, and then we watched it later that day. So I was a bit older. I was 14 or 15, but I got it all. It was uncut. It was, you know.
Before we move on from the personal connection, I did want to say I did lie. I have seen exactly one sequel to A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Wait. Can we guess?
Yeah. It should be pretty obvious which one I have seen. I think we've talked about it on this podcast.
Is it Freddy vs. Jason?
No.
Is it Wes Craven's New Nightmare?
No. I've heard that's the best one.
I love that. Wait. Is it Freddy 2, The Revenge? Or Nightmare 2, Freddy's Revenge?
Nope.
Is it Dream Warriors?
It's Dream Warriors.
Is it because that movie fucking rules?
Yeah, it is because that movie fucking rules. I completely, I don't know why I forgot about that, but I have seen, and no other sequels, just Dream Warriors.
I love Dream Warriors. That is like the perfect Freddy movie.
We talked about this during our Satanic Panic episode.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're the Dream Warriors. Who is that? Dokken? Yeah, it's Dokken.
Yep. Ugh.
What a movie.
The reason, for those of you playing along at home, that should have been obvious is because I'm really into glam metal, and like that's Dokken. So, and that's why I watched that movie, is because of Dokken. So.
I should probably save this for when we eventually cover Dream Warriors, but I'm just gonna say it now. I've seen Dokken in concert.
That's so fucking cool.
My mom took me. I was in high school. She took me to a lot of concerts over the years, but we went to a triple header of Skid Row, Dokken, and Poison.
You have seen like everybody cool.
Yeah, I have.
You have seen like literally everybody cool. That's really awesome.
Like I can name drop.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not to flex on the pod too much, but I've seen Van Halen. I've seen AC/DC. I've seen Ozzy Osbourne.
R.I.P.
Mm-hmm. And same to, like, I bring up Van Halen because, like, Eddie Van Halen passed a couple years ago. Ozzy, very fresh. Malcolm Young passed for AC/DC. I don't think AC/DC does.
Yeah, no, they don't.
So, Aerosmith, none of them's passed, but they don't tour anymore. Steven Tyler tore his throat open and then had a medically retired. I think he can do, like, a show here and there because I know he did the Black Sabbath Back to the Beginning.
Right. I'm sure he can do, like, sparingly, but not very often.
He sang 3 songs.
Right.
He can't tour.
No.
I don't think he can put on a show like that. Or he can, and he will mess up his voice. Anyways, that's
exactly.
But yeah, I've seen a lot of great bands.
You have. Speaking of great bands, I just wanted to point out that all three of us are currently, not that you can see this, but we are currently wearing Black Sabbath shirts in honor of Ozzy, who obviously recently passed at the time of this recording. So we talked a little bit about him on Patreon. Yes. I just wanted to, take a second to honor him and talk about how we all really care about the legacy that he left for music. So
yeah, it's really interesting talking about Ozzy and just rock and roll on the Nightmare on Elm Street episode, because there's kind of a edge to a Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes. We will kind of get to this more technically in like cultural impact, but something that's really interesting about Freddy in general, and I'm going to bring this up because we did just talk about the big three, is when we're talking slashers, Freddy was really the first one to have a personality.
Yes.
I mean, like, you look at Michael Myers, he is a very, like, stoic, in a mask. Like, he doesn't speak. He's not, talking to you. Freddy's the first, like, who's, like, snarky and has gross comments to say and, like, always has some fucking witty one-liner that's terrifying. And that's, like, that was different, especially at the time.
Oh, yeah.
So kind of jumping into historical context with this, something that you're going to find a lot with the Wes Craven movies is that he often has very specific stories about his inspiration. So for this one, there were two specific stories that he was inspired by to make Nightmare. One, he had read about a young man who had experienced PTSD from war. He was a veteran, and he was terrified to fall asleep because like his nightmares were so bad, but his family was worried, so they told him to take sleeping pills, and then he took the sleeping pills and the nightmares were so bad that he died of fear in his sleep. So they examined his body. There was no sign of a heart attack or anything. He just died. And then the other story is that when he was a boy, he looked out of his window and he saw a man similar to Freddy in appearance. And he said the man, like, stared right back at him up, like he was in his bedroom window and he was looking down in an alley, and the man, like, caught eyes with him and stared at him. And so he was, like, so terrified, and he was wearing a hat like Freddy's, which is what inspired the hat. And so those were the two stories that inspired this specific one. And like I said, this is gonna come back up. He always has, like, a specific moment that he's like, this is what inspired me to write this movie. So that's that.
And it took a while for him to get to shop around Nightmare, and because we're in a historical context for the film now, we might talk about this a little bit when we talk about Wes Craven's career, but specifically on Nightmare, it took him, I think, 3 years after he'd written the script to find financing. And New Line Cinema, New Line Studios, New Line Cinema. It's New Line Cinema. They were a relatively new production company at the time, and what's his name, Bob Shea, the president, of New Line. He took a chance on Wes Craven. He took a chance on Wes Craven, and he, super happy he did, because they call New Line the house that Freddy built. Yeah.
This is just a side note. I find it so funny. Wes Craven literally named Freddy Krueger after his childhood bully.
Yeah.
His childhood bully's literal name was Fred Krueger. He did the same thing with The Last House on the Left, where the villain's name was shortened to Krug.
Yeah, Krug.
Krug. So yeah, I just think that's so funny. I don't know.
Yeah, if you've ever wronged me, watch out. Your name might be fodder for my horror icons.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting that he really wanted to kind of model Freddy Krueger after a lot of the killers at the time, like Leatherface and Michael Myers and Jason, having this mask, but he also wanted him to be able to taunt. So that's why his face is, like, burned and scarred instead of, like, an actual mask. So interesting.
I have some more interesting tidbits.
Please.
Do you know the reason why his sweater is red and green?
I do, but tell the people.
He likes Christmas.
Okay, so the real reason.
The real reason is because red and green on the color spectrum are polar opposites, and the way our human eyes work is it's jarring for us to see red and green together.
Yeah.
Like, it makes our brain waves go, ew.
That's why it's that sickly green as well. It's not just like the bright Christmas green. Like, it's a very, like, gross looking green.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really cool. Do you know why Freddy has what I think is the most unique weapon in movies? Not just horror, but like maybe the other contenders, the lightsaber from Star Wars.
Right, but this sure is unique. I do not know why, though. I assumed it was just because he wanted to be different.
Well, Wes Craven wanted something primal. And he thought,
okay,
what's something that everyone can have a fear of that instinctually would haunt our nightmares? And it's like, well, back in the day, humans were hunted by like saber-toothed tigers and bears and things with really massive, nasty claws.
Yeah.
So he thought if Freddy had something claw-like that he slashes at people with, not just a knife, but like this hand with these knives on it, he thought that would affect people on a primal, instinctual level. And he was right.
So, Austin, I have to ask you this question.
Okay.
Is this why you're terrified to have our cat Neil sit on your lap?
You're just going to do that to me on the internet? Maybe.
To be fair, our cat Neil has a claw problem. He's very bad at taking care of, like, filing his own claws. It's not Austin's fault. It's Neil's.
Well, part of it is I'm used to dogs. I like cats, but I don't know how to act with cats sometimes.
No, yeah.
So.
Well, and dogs' claws are very different. They're, like,
right.
bigger, so they're duller naturally.
Right, and with the dog, if I don't want to be bothered, I just lightly push him away.
With a cat, they'll dig in.
Right.
Right, they can grab. Like a cat, like, just will wrap their claws, where a dog is just, like, I'm going to move you now.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Fair.
So I'm more used to dogs. Mm-hmm. With cats, I learned the hard way. I was at a friend's house doing work on a film, and her cat hopped on me and was about to dig it. I had gotten us food while we work.
I know.
And I'm thinking, because I have chihuahuas and terriers hop on me all my life, so I just pick them up and put them somewhere else.
Yeah.
And I just go to do that. And my friend goes, no, don't. And the cat's claws like dig into my chest, and she pushes out. And she's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, but that hurt. I don't want to do that again.
I don't want to do that again. Yeah.
So
that's why Freddy has the claws. No, but I do find the like nails on a chalkboard sound that he makes so disconcerting and so grating every time.
Yes. And back to, talking about the historical context of this film, I'm going to kind of say it in like a horror historical context. Mm-hmm. To your point about Freddy being the first one with personality, he is also the first slasher villain to have a supernatural element.
Yes.
So that's another unique thing about Freddy.
Yes.
Because with Michael, there's kind of a maybe supernatural. It's all based on your interpretation of Michael. Mm-hmm. Jason, at some point in the franchise, becomes an undead, unstoppable killer. So that's supernatural, but that's well after Freddy makes his debut. Freddy really... Because before Freddy, it's Michael Myers and his ripoffs. Mm-hmm. And then you have some of the proto-slashers like Norman Bates, Leatherface.
Yeah.
They are pre-Michael. They are unique, but those were before slasher movies were slasher movies.
Yes.
So you can kind of retcon them as slasher movies, but that term didn't come around until Halloween, then you get this big boom of slashers from 78 to 83, 84. Nightmare on Elm Street comes out in 84, and Nightmare on Elm Street is the first slasher film to be truly different after Halloween, to the point where Wes Craven did not like calling it a slasher film. He didn't think it was a slasher film.
Fair.
He viewed it as a horror movie. And it is.
Yeah.
It is. I think Nightmare on Elm Street is more than what you would think of as a slasher.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's we're kind of getting into our monthly theme with Wes Craven and everything. So the big thing and the big pattern that I want to focus on with Wes Craven, and obviously we'll focus on many things, but is that all of his films have a lot more going on underneath the surface than what is actually presented to you.
Yes.
A Nightmare on Elm Street is obviously no exception. In addition to giving us this very iconic monster slasher with elements of psychological horror as well, because of this idea of sleep deprivation that is kind of happening throughout the film, it's also a big critique of suburban life. I mean, and this is, again, something that we are going to see time and time again with Wes Craven, is that he always is making some kind of social commentary. And obviously, like, that is something that we have talked about with other directors on this podcast before, but this is kind of a big deal because you don't always see that in slasher flicks. You know what I mean?
Right.
Sometimes a slasher flick is just a slasher flick, but like you were saying, like, he didn't consider this a slasher. He considered this like a horror film, which inherently always ties to some kind of commentary on what's going on in life. So in this movie, for example, we have this very kind of idyllic middle-class suburban neighborhood, and we have these 4 teenagers, 3 of whom are considered like good kids. Like, you know, we've got an athlete and like a nerd, and then we have the 4th member of their group who is Rod.
It's Rod,
who is kind of the bad guy from the wrong side of the tracks, right? And the moment that his girlfriend Tina gets killed by Freddy, he is blamed because obviously, I mean, there's the element of it's always the boyfriend, right? But it's more so than that. He's the only black sheep. He's the only one it could be. He's the only one who is not a good student at school and, you know, very like straight A, like straight and narrow type of character.
Yeah, he's kind of a outcast,
right?
Kind of a rebel.
Well, and notably, he's, you know, the only member of the cast who's not white as well.
Right. He's Latino, I think. Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, and then I'm like, I don't know if I should assume. I actually don't know.
I'm not sure how to pronounce the actor's first name. It's JSU, but his last name is Garcia.
Okay, that makes sense.
So he is Latino for sure, but I'm not sure how to pronounce his first name, so I apologize. But so we've already kind of got these critiques happening in the beginning, but then as we get to the end, we kind of see more of the darkness of this, like, suburban life as we learn more about who Freddy is and where Freddy has come from. And Nancy's mother reveals more about all that they have done to keep their children safe. We realize that there's kind of a price to pay for living in this like really naive suburbia.
Right. And I think A Nightmare on Elm Street is very critical of the kind of parents who shelter their kids from everything because they're not preparing them for the world and not being honest with them. I think Nightmare on Elm Street as a film is very critical of trying to protect the kids from the world but not preparing them for it.
Yes.
It's critical of institutions, I think.
And it's also critical of this is something that I love about Wes Craven is I think he writes teenagers so well.
Yeah.
And he really gives teenagers a lot of authority. And like we've joked, and this is not like a new revolutionary joke, but this idea that like in a lot of horror movies that center around teenagers, it's like, where the fuck are the parents? Right. This movie doesn't really fall into that trap. The parents are there the whole time. They just don't take anything that the kids say seriously.
Right. And when they do get involved, they make it worse.
Yeah. And so this idea that, like, that's something that I think teenagers feel so often, is this idea that they are dismissed by all of the adults in their life. And even, like, towards the end, like, we are getting to this point where terrible, awful things are happening. And Nancy is like, Dad, I just need you to come in the house in 10 minutes. I need you to just come into the house in 10 minutes. And he completely dismisses her. He's just like, I have too much going on. Like, he's like, sure, I'll be over there. And he doesn't get there until it's too late. And that's just like, it's something that I think that Wes Craven is exceptional with, is giving teenagers authority while also still treating them like teenagers. Like, he never makes them feel like they're too mature or like they're not still children dealing with these terrible, awful things that are happening to them. But he also definitely makes us understand that, hey, teenagers are smart. They are... Right.
Give them more credit.
They deserve more credit than they are given. And I think that has paved the way for a lot of teen horror in the late 90s, early 2000s up to today.
Even just teen movies, I think.
Yeah.
Because with A Nightmare on Elm Street, along with a lot of the films that John Hughes did, I think they were very big for teens.
Yes.
Because before the 80s, the teen movies, there's not that... I mean, there's, like, American Graffiti.
Yeah, but that's kind of it.
Maybe some James Dean films. I can't... Is Rebel Without a Cause... Is that a teen movie?
I don't know if it's a teen movie.
Like
I haven't seen it in a really long time.
Yeah, so I don't know if it counts, but there's not that many.
No.
Other than like I said, like American Graffiti and Grease.
Yeah, I was gonna say, or Grease that stars like 30-year-olds.
Right.
But yeah, no, I think that that's something that if I were to come away from anything, I think it is that he writes children and teenagers so well. And like, obviously not every single movie that Wes Craven has ever done is about a child or about a teenager, but you know, he writes a lot of them and they are all really well done.
Right. And his two most famous movies, I'd argue, is A Nightmare on Elm Street and Scream, and those are both teen horror movies. Though it is important to note, he did not write Scream.
No, yes, absolutely.
You got to give Kevin Williamson his flowers, but Wes Craven still directed it, and he still directed the hell out of it. But he wrote Nightmare, which I think it's insane to me that it took so long for it to get made, like 3 years to find money. But I get it because it's an original movie.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it.
Well, and you know, I mean, like, before
at least.
Yeah. You think I'm sure it's harder now to pitch an original story, but it wasn't exactly easy then either, you know?
Right. Like yeah, in the 80s there were a bunch of original movies, but like something as unique and original as Nightmare, I don't think the marketing people knew how to, like, the executives didn't know how to sell it.
Right.
And that's probably why it took because Nightmare was so unique.
Yes.
But then Bob Shea at New Line Cinema took a chance, and history was made for everyone involved. Because Nightmare on Elm Street, for as big as this franchise is, this original film is kind of a low-budget, scrappy movie.
Yeah.
Like, you can kind of see the tape holding it together sometimes. Which I love movies like that. I love these scrappy movies. Speaking of the big three, most of the Friday the 13th movies are these, like, scrappy, low budget. You can see the seams in the works, so to speak. But Nightmare is kind of like there's some bad audio here and there. Some, like... Yeah, for sure. Oh, they're not matching what they're saying, audio to in certain places. Right. Especially with horror, I think that scrappiness gives a film like that character.
Yes, definitely. I agree.
Because Nightmare on Elm Street it gets kind of grimy. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It can be a nasty film.
Yeah.
I got a question for you. Do you think A Nightmare on Elm Street is scary?
We were just talking about this kind of. So... This is kind of a hard question because I think probably in 2025, looking at the effects of this movie, no. That being said, I think that it's because of how good effects have gotten that our imaginations are a little bit duller, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I don't even mean that in a negative way. I just think that like says a lot about how like just far we've come in terms of effects and like in terms of filmmaking. So I think like if I were to have watched this for the first time when it came out in whenever it came out in 1980, whatever.
Right.
I do think that I probably would have been scared by the effects alone because like if you're predispositioned to like that suspension of disbelief, I think that's like where you are. That being said, the concept of Freddy Krueger is still just as scary as when it was created.
Yeah.
The concept of this man who is haunting dreams and you can't escape him unless you stay awake is terrifying. So I think that would be like, I guess that's like a more complicated answer than you were probably looking for, which is a yes or no, but that's my take on that. What do you think?
I might have a hotter take.
Okay.
I think this is the scariest movie we covered so far.
Okay. That's it. You have no thoughts on why or how?
I think this is the scariest movie we've covered so far together. Well, I'm trying to think of what else there is and what the contenders are.
What do you mean by scary?
That's the hard question, right? I feel like when I say scary, I want movies that get under my skin and I'm like, and they call like I'm thinking about it that night.
Okay.
When the lights are dark.
Fair.
You know, and I'm not afraid of Freddy Krueger.
Oh, I am.
But I think Nightmare or in the moment I'm like scared, you know. I think Nightmare on Elm Street is a scary movie. I don't think Freddy's scary. But the idea of Freddy is scary. And part of it is I've seen the sequels.
That's what I'm saying. Is like the concept of Freddy terrifying.
And like I think the scenes in A Nightmare on Elm Street are scary. Like Tina's death is very scary.
Yeah, true.
I think there's a lot of imagery in the movie that really
sticks with you.
Yeah, and really made an effect on me, especially when I saw it for the first time in high school. Kind of thinking of the 20-something movies that we've covered so far. I think Jaws is up there, but
I was going to say.
I was 5 when I've seen it. I don't think Jaws is scary, but I grew up with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it is so a part of me. I think Psycho is scary.
Yeah. I think for me, the scariest movie that we've covered is probably Psycho. But I do agree that I think conceptually, Freddy is terrifying because there's no escaping Freddy. You have to sleep.
Right.
You will fall asleep against your will at some point.
And like I said, for me, imagery is scary.
Yeah.
So some of the images, and I want to save some of what I want to say for a later superlative we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
But a lot of imagery in Nightmare, I think, is scary. I'm trying to think of what we've gone through that I think Prometheus is existentially scary.
Yeah.
Like, that is a very, I think nihilistic is the word.
Yeah.
Because Prometheus is like, hey, I don't think this is Ridley Scott, but the film is kind of saying, I don't believe in God, but if I did, he hates us.
Yeah.
And that's scary.
Yeah, that's fair.
To me, at least. Teen Wolf?
Teen Wolf's not that scary.
Speak for yourself. No, I'm kidding.
I think
puberty's scary.
I think the first Omen conceptually is very scary to me because of the fact, like the idea that the church being so desperate to bring people back to Christ that they would unleash evil on the world is terrifying to me. So I think the first Omen is conceptually scary, and I think it's very visually scary as well.
There's some great imagery
in
the first Omen.
Freddy is for sure up there.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's not the scariest, it's up there for sure.
Well, this being the first Wes Craven film we've covered together, we've done great filmmakers, but I think this is the first, like, true master of horror off the top of my head. Because we've done Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
We've done Steven Spielberg. And we've done Ridley Scott. But I don't think any of them are masters of horror in the way I kind of view a master of horror.
Okay.
I think those are just the greatest filmmakers of all time who have a couple horror films under their belt.
Okay. I don't know that I agree about Alfred Hitchcock, but I will...
Alfred Hitchcock is one of the greatest filmmakers.
No, I'm not saying he's not. I'm saying I also think he's a master of horror, though.
I just don't think he's done that many true horror movies.
Okay.
I think it's Psycho and The Birds.
Okay. That's fair.
For me, a master of horror should at least do 5.
That's... Okay.
Like, for me to be a master of horror, you have to be in the horror genre a lot.
Yeah.
So, like, James Wan, who has broken out and done Fast 7 and Aquaman, he's a master of horror.
Uh-huh.
Because, he's done 3... He's already made 3 iconic horror franchises, and he's done a couple one-offs in there as well. Like, Steven Spielberg, I think Spielberg has horror cred.
Fair. I think they all have horror cred, but I think, yeah, that's fair. Do you not count Vertigo as a horror movie?
I don't think it is.
Okay.
I think it's a psychological thriller.
I mean, yeah.
But to me, it's a detective story. It's a mystery movie.
Okay.
Which doesn't mean it can't be horror.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think there's enough horror. Like, I think Jurassic Park's more of a horror movie than Vertigo.
Okay. I'll take it. I will defer to you on that. You're the expert here.
But also, it's also like genre is subjective. It's all bullshit. It's all make believe.
Fair.
But yeah, we haven't covered a James Wan film yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think people were too early to give Ari Aster the Master of Horror cred.
He's only had like 3 movies total, right?
Well, now he's at 4, but only 2 of them are horror,
right.
and
only one of them's even okay.
And we disagree on which one. And we disagree on which one that is. So
that's true.
I think Ari Aster's a great filmmaker, so I don't want to take away. But I'm like, to me, a master of horror, you got to do at least 5 bangers.
How do you feel about Jordan Peele at this point?
He
doesn't have 5.
He doesn't have 5, but he's only done horror.
He has 4 though, right?
So he has
Get Out, he has Nope, he has Us, he has Candyman.
But he didn't direct Candyman.
Oh,
so if we're counting producing, then Spielberg, I think, would be a master of horror.
Right, but he didn't.
Because he's so involved with Poltergeist.
Yeah, he's only really done the 3.
So, but I think Jordan Peele is on his way.
Yeah,
to being a master of horror. If people want to call him master of horror now, I'm not going to be like, well, actually.
Yeah.
Because
he hasn't made enough movies.
He hasn't made it. Exactly. Right. Exactly. Wes Craven's made a bunch of bangers.
True.
And kind of like James Wan, Wes Craven has made multiple franchises. Right. He's made 3 films that transformed horror in one way or another.
Yeah.
And he's made 2 icons of horror.
Mm-hmm. So
no one's arguing Wes Craven's status. John Carpenter obviously is a master of horror. George Romero, Tobe Hooper. If we're gonna count producing as part of your filmography, which we can, producing's a big part of filmmaking, then I think that would give Spielberg master of horror status. Because in my mind, his horror movies are Jaws, Duel, Jurassic Park, War of the Worlds.
Right.
Actually, Lost World. Lost World's kind of horror, so maybe I'm full of shit. That's 5 right there. That's 5 right there. So yeah, Spielberg can be master of horror. He doesn't have enough accolades.
Yeah, no, I don't think that we've given him enough credit.
Yeah. But yeah, if we're counting producing, then you got Poltergeist, which is a great. Then Gremlins also. Twister, kinda. It's close.
Ish.
Yeah.
I wouldn't count Twisters as horror.
That's fair.
But I think Twister is scarier.
The rest of the Jurassic Park movies, which they get less and less horror as they go on. Yeah. But yeah, I think now that we established what a master of horror is,
I do think Wes Craven is probably the first undisputed master of horror that we've covered, if not
that we've
first.
that we've covered. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, like, do we give Ridley Scott Master of Horror just because he made Alien? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, because if your criteria is, like, you have done multiple franchises or multiple, like, storylines, then no. I mean, you can't.
Right. Like,
So.
to me, a master has to do it multiple times.
Right. That's fair.
So I think we could give it to Spielberg. He's done enough in the genre. Ridley Scott's filmography is so diverse. But yeah, Wes Craven, undeniable.
For sure. So we've kind of already talked about cultural impact of Freddy Krueger, but just to kind of reiterate, Freddy had a personality. I mean, he is the first slasher. He's not a Leatherface Mike Myers type. He's not a Jason type. He has quips and one-liners, and he's terrifying in that way. And he takes a lot of joy in his killing and his torture in a way that, again, we don't really see with Mike Myers or with our stoic killers. We don't know how they're feeling. They are expressionless and emotionless on purpose.
Right. And that's what makes Michael scary. And the fact that Freddy's the opposite is what makes Freddy scary.
Right.
I think then you get, like, Pinhead gets sassy.
Yeah.
Chucky's very Freddy coded.
Right, but those are later.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Freddy leads to those guys. And on the flip side, your villain can only be as strong as your protagonist.
Yeah.
And Nancy Thompson is a huge reason why this film works so well.
Yes.
Played brilliantly by Heather Langenkamp. And I was listening to an interview with Robert Englund, and they were talking about Wes Craven, and Robert Englund said, Wes Craven was very good at finding young actors and directing them very well. And we'll talk about that a lot next week.
Yes.
But Heather Langenkamp's only 20 when they're shooting A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Which is funny because she is supposed to be playing a high school, but 20 is close.
Right.
And there's a really funny moment where Nancy's so scared by this fucked up shit happening to her, her hair starts to grow gray. She's looking at it and she's talking to her boyfriend Glenn, and she's like, "Look, I look like I'm 20." It's so funny.
It is very good. Yes. I mean, they're all of those actors were pretty young. They were young 20s. Johnny Depp was 23.
He went on to do some stuff.
Yeah, he did a couple things.
He had an okay career.
But he was in some movies by a director that, I enjoy. You don't.
I like Gore Verbinski.
This is our second time talking about Johnny Depp, actually. I kind of forgot.
Third!
Oh my god.
I'm just saying Wes Craven's a better director than he who should not be named.
I think that's probably pretty undisputed. Is he a master of horror?
I'd say so.
Yeah,
I'd say so. Just because it's not up my alley his stuff isn't up my alley doesn't mean he doesn't make like really popular shit that a lot of people enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so. And he's so unique too.
Yeah.
That who cares if I don't like it?
Do you know who we're talking about?
No clue.
Tim Burton.
We've done this twice.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know the other two movies that we've watched with Johnny Depp? Pop quiz.
He's been in some stuff.
Yeah, but like on this podcast.
It was the same month, if that helps you.
That doesn't at all. I got a lot going on.
It was the same month?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
I do remember saying that I didn't like the Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, I didn't like. I don't think we've talked about this, but I remember saying that I don't think that he is necessarily groundbreaking as.
Yeah,
Captain
you're
Jack
wrong,
Sparrow.
but that's not really the point.
That is
Sweeney Todd.
I played a one-dimensional character. Hard. That's how I feel.
Iconic one-dimensional character.
Oh no, the character's iconic. The playing is the first syllable of Midsommar.
So the answer to the question that was asked, which was not for you to attack Johnny Depp's performance in Pirates of the Caribbean unprompted again, causing us to be mass canceled, was
Yeah.
Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Fleet Street.
Oh, that's right. I did not watch
also
that movie.
Ichabod Crane in Sleepy Hollow.
Oh, I didn't watch that movie.
You watched parts of both of those
I watched
movies.
like 2 scenes total from both movies.
Anyway, moving on. Wes Craven.
I have a hot take.
Okay.
Of the 3 Johnny Depp movies we've covered on this podcast, this is the best one.
I don't think that's a hot take in the slightest.
I don't think that's a hot take either. I have a hot take about this movie that we'll get to later.
That is an ice cold take.
Anyway, so the other thing, again, just to recap about the cultural impact, is introducing this psychological horror element into slasher movies with the sleep deprivation and it being in your sleep. It makes like the goal of horror movies at their core level, when we think about them in the most childish way, is they're supposed to make it hard for us to fall asleep. Yeah. And this movie, by definition, makes it hard for you to fall asleep.
Right.
Because you are like, but what if?
And I think what Wes Craven does very well as a filmmaker is capture dreams. He has, in this movie, this uncanny way to, like, sneak us into these nightmare sequences on a low budget.
Yeah.
Mind you. On a very low budget. I got a hot take. And I don't mean to be disrespectful. I just want to say Wes Craven could have made Inception.
I think that's real.
But Chris Nolan, I don't think could pull off A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Chris Nolan and Wes Craven have something in common that I'm going to talk about later in my review that you guys are going to be mad at me about. But it's really important that you probably know that I watched The Dark Knight Rises for the first time the day I watched A Nightmare on Elm Street last week. So it's funny that you bring up these 2 directors.
It was a wild double feature.
I watched
The Dark Knight on Sunday. I watched A Nightmare on Elm Street and The Dark Knight Rises on Monday. It's been a time. I watched Batman Begins like 2 years ago and then never finished the series.
Speaking of nightmare scenes, Scarecrow is very Freddy inspired.
Yeah, that's real.
I don't know about the comic book character, but at least that movie iteration.
Yeah, that movie iteration. Yeah, you can see it.
Scarecrow had Cillian Murphy, who will come up later.
Oh, yeah, he will. You're right. Dang.
Her web connects us all.
Stop. This is not about Dakota Johnson.
It always is.
Anyway. Are you ready for superlatives, or do you have more to say?
I just, before we get into the superlatives, this could easily be a 2.5 hour episode like Jaws was. This is such an important movie.
That's true. I think the thing is like the good news about having a whole month dedicated to Wes Craven is that we can come back to this and connect everything together, and probably will, because this is kind of...
Right. And we will cover the entire Freddy Krueger franchise at some point. Yeah. We're not going to do it all at once.
No.
But we will slowly and surely cover all these movies. So there will be a lot of Freddy on this podcast.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
But just to say, for cultural impact, Nightmare on Elm Street turned 40 last year. People care. 2 or 3 years ago, got selected by the Library of Congress for the National Film Registry. Like I said earlier, that's a big fucking deal. And Robert Englund is going to get his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. Like, he was selected, and I think his ceremony is this October?
Yes, I think that's true.
So, and we really haven't talked about Robert Englund that much in this episode. He's a big part of why this movie works. Also, I just want to shout out Lin Shaye, who plays the teacher. Lin Shaye's a horror queen. We love Lin Shaye. She's actually Bob Shaye's sister.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
He said to Wes, yeah, just put my sister in the movie, and that's really my biggest request, other than, make a good movie and make my money back.
Yeah, that's fair.
So he championed Wes Craven from what I can, all the behind the scenes and making of documentaries I've eaten up over the years.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Lin Shaye, she's best known for the Insidious franchise.
Yeah.
So, and she does a lot of really cool horror stuff. But it's cool that she got her start in this movie. Johnny Depp got his start in this movie. It made Robert Englund international. Like, Robert Englund was already, he was a working actor throughout the 70s. Like, he was getting good gigs. He was doing a lot of comic. So it's not like this gave him his start, but it just exploded him to a whole new other level.
Lynn and Robert Shaye are also both from Detroit, notably.
I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. I feel like I should have known that.
They both went to U of M, too. Well,
they can't all be winners. we all have our
deep dark secrets.
Yeah, our fatal flaw. No, still love.
Yeah, no.
Austin's gonna go home and like edit out the entire shout out.
No.
So we're moving on to Sam Raimi and the Evil Dead.
Forget all of it. No.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
But no, that's cool to have that state of Michigan connection.
Yes, exactly.
That is really cool. Mm-hmm. Wes Craven shot Scream 4 in Ann Arbor.
I knew that. Are we ready for superlatives?
Yeah, I think we're ready.
Okay.
For superlatives.
Who would you save?
Who would I save? That's a good question because I didn't really think about it. Who would you say? Come back to me.
Okay, well, so you're going to take this and you're going to be like, well, she's alive at the end because you always do that. But I would save Nancy because she obviously has not escaped at the end. That's the whole point. So that's what I would say. I would save Nancy.
I think it's fair.
Thank you.
Because, like, if it wasn't for a sequel, it's like, did she though? Did she live?
Yeah, and I don't know what happened in the sequel, so I just have this movie to go on.
You've seen it though. You've seen Dream Warriors.
Well, I've seen.
Oh, she doesn't show up in 2.
Oh, okay.
So
I just know I know what happens because of Dream Warriors, but like,
yeah, Nancy Thompson is only in 2 movies.
That's so funny. Why did they skip her into whatever? I have to watch the second one to find out what I missed.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
But that's who I would save. What about you?
I think that's fair. I would save Tina.
Okay.
I like Tina.
Okay.
She didn't deserve.
That's fair.
She didn't deserve that.
So what's your favorite scare then?
My favorite scare. So I was kind of talking about haunting imagery earlier and stuff that gets under my skin. Mm-hmm. The part that scares me the most, and I think about it often, is when Nancy is having her nightmare in the classroom and she looks over and Tina is there all bloody in the body bag.
Yeah.
And she's like, Nancy, help me. And that's scary.
It is scary.
That's like an actual nightmare sort of thing.
Yes.
Because if you ask me what's my favorite kill, I mean, I love the Johnny Depp one so much. That might be my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah.
But my favorite kill is Tina's death.
Fair.
The way it's so brutal and visceral and scary, and the way she's like being flung around. It's violent. Mm-hmm. Wes Craven does violence very well because he doesn't make it cool. Well, when the gallons of blood spurts up in like that geyser of blood, that's kind of fucking cool. But Tina's death is horrific. That's scary. But her in the body bag, and then when the body bag's being pulled by something you can't see later in that scene, mm-hmm. that's very scary to me. That's nightmare stuff.
Yeah.
How about you?
My favorite scare is pretty much the entire scene, like the bedroom kill scene with the mom, where like Freddy is like on top of her and then she like flamethrowers her and then it's just her mom and it's
and she's scary when she's like burnt to a crisp and she's going down into like the netherworld.
It brings me chills.
Yeah, that part's scary too. This is the scariest movie we've covered.
I'm okay.
Maybe Teen Wolf.
I think it's Teen Wolf, man.
Nebraska's scary.
Nebraska's just really scary.
The Midwest is scary because this is Ohio, Springwood, Ohio.
It's because like that's where they have to set horror movies because they think nothing else happens here. Other things happen here, guys. Promise.
No, they might be right.
No.
Only horror in the Midwest.
It's not only horror in the Midwest.
Halloween.
Glee also happened in Ohio.
Illinois.
That's not a horror movie.
Depending on who you're asking.
That's fair. Okay, what is your Tony Todd Award for movie MVP?
Okay, so I have a rule for this month. No picking Wes Craven.
Okay, fair.
He's getting the month.
That's fair. That's understandable.
So there's a lot of really, really awesome people. A lot of great people who made this movie a reality.
Mm-hmm.
But Tony Todd is one of the great horror icons.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's only fitting for me to give the Tony Todd Award to a peer and just someone on Tony Todd's level, and it has to be Robert Englund.
Okay, that's fair.
Like Robert Englund as Fred, like
yeah. I mean, like if you're talking character actors, that's the one, man.
Yeah, and I want to shout out John Saxon, who plays Sheriff Tom. Yeah, the sheriff, Nancy's dad.
Yeah.
Because he's also a great character actor.
Mm-hmm.
When he shows up in a movie, it's like, oh yeah, this is about to be a banger. I love John Saxon, but Robert Englund, like, that's a horror icon.
Mm-hmm.
I think Robert Englund will go down in horror history amongst the greats like Vincent Price and Boris Karloff and Bela Lugosi.
Mm.
I think Robert Englund is at that level.
Fair. Yeah, I think that's probably true.
And he showed up in Stranger Things.
He did.
In the season that's very talking about cultural impact. Like, season 4 is just a Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
With heavy metal and Dungeons and Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Which is
He's appeared in other things, too, and we're going to talk about it in a minute.
I love Robert Englund. I love him so much. And he's always popping up in other horror things.
Mm-hmm.
And he's really cool with, like, taking chances on younger horror filmmakers and taking smaller roles in their movies. Because he knows his name will help sell this young kid's movie.
Yeah.
He does that pretty often.
Mm-hmm.
And I met him at Horror Hound in 2023, and I have this really cool picture with two of my best friends, friends of the podcasts, and me and Robert Englund. Who is your Tony Todd award winner for movie MVP?
So this one's kind of an interesting pick, I think, but I just like her scene, like her main scene stays with me so much. I'm going to go with Ronnie Blakely, who plays Nancy's mother.
She's great.
Marge.
In this.
The scene where she kind of reveals the backstory of Freddy Krueger. I mean, her whole, like, concern for her daughter and, like, trying to do the best for her, but, like, still being very dismissive of her. Like, her whole character is very interesting. But that scene and her pulling out the glove, it's so good, and it's very chilling to me, and I think she just does such a wonderful job and disappears into that role so well that I wanted to give her a shout out for that.
Yes, I'm glad you did. Because she, I don't think the movie works without her either. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is a movie where the cast is really good.
Yeah. And
they're all playing their parts so well, but I don't think it works without that. You know what I mean? But you're right. Like, she is great.
So, is this score better than Jaws?
No. But it's really, really close.
Really? Dude.
I think so.
Okay.
I think it's very iconic.
That's true, yeah.
It is iconic. I think it's scary. Mm-hmm. It's memorable. And the song helps.
Yes.
The 1, 2, Freddy's coming. That helps so much. I don't know if that's technically the score, but I...
Right, but it does help the memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that melody, the do-do-do-do.
Yeah.
And those synths and stuff, like... What's the composer's name? Charles
Bernstein.
Bernstein? Yeah. He also did Cujo.
Yes. So that's what I was going to say. Is he... Mm-hmm. So Wes Craven has this really interesting thing where when he works with composers, where he will get a composer who has done like 1 or 2 big projects and then a bunch of very small films.
Yeah.
So Charles Bernstein, other than this movie, is most known for Cujo and The Entity. But
I've never seen The Entity.
Everything else that he's done is pretty small works. But yeah, I mean, like, very much big highlight here, obviously, in getting Nightmare on Elm Street and having it be so iconic.
I think top 5 score that we've talked about.
Okay.
I lied. Top 3.
I will agree to top 5.
I'm putting it under Psycho and Jaws.
I think Carrie's better.
I disagree.
Okay.
My top 5 of what we've covered so far would be Jaws, I think Psycho's a better score, but I like Jaws more. So I'm going to put Jaws at number 1, even though I think Psycho's a better score.
Okay.
But Jaws, Psycho, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, and then Prometheus.
I would say my top 5 would probably be Psycho, Jaws, Indiana Jones, Carrie, Nightmare.
And then honorable mention, just on the outside looking in for me, is The First Omen.
Yeah.
And Carrie. Carrie's really good.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think this is a great score that doesn't get quite the love I think it deserves. But it's so integral for this movie.
Yeah.
I almost picked Charles Bernstein as my movie MVP.
Fair. So, a fine addition to your collection. Do you own this? I assume the answer is yes. How many versions?
I don't.
Really?
No, that's a lie.
Oh.
I'd straight up lie to your faces.
Did.
So I own A Nightmare on Elm Street on Blu-ray twice.
Why?
Because I have it by itself. Like, I have the copy that my mom and I bought while I was in high school.
Okay.
And then I also have the Nightmare on Elm Street collection.
Nice.
Which has all of the films except for Freddy versus Jason, I think.
Cool.
So, everything from the core 6, Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and the remake. It might not have the remake, actually. I'll have to relook into it. And I might get it again because they're going to come out with a 4K collection of the entire series. So, yeah, I might have it a third time.
Nice.
I have a couple Nightmare on Elm Street shirts. And most importantly, I have a replica of the Nightmare on Elm Street Freddy Krueger knife glove.
Which you can see featured on our Instagram in all of our promo pics.
Yeah, yeah.
You also have a bag that you're currently using. Right?
Oh, shit. So, this is my Fred Heads bag that Fred Heads is a documentary about the Nightmare on Elm Street community.
Yes.
The fans and stuff. And I have a bunch of friends of the podcast who are featured in that, like Deandra Laser and Anthony Brownlee. And they were guests on the previous iteration of Would You Die, talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yes.
So,
which you should all go listen back to those episodes. That's great.
Yeah, I love Deandra. I love Anthony. And then, but yeah, Fred Heads, it was a documentary, and my mom and I were at Horror Hound, and we went to the premiere of it, so I got a free bag.
Nice.
And then, not to flex, but if we're talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street episodes on the previous iteration of Would You Die, I think we should mention the 100th episode of Would You Die, which was all about the films of Wes Craven, but we talked a lot about Nightmare on Elm Street, and the guest was Jeffrey Reddick, the creator of Final Destination.
Yes, great episode, 10 out of 10.
Friend of the pod.
Like literally.
Jeffrey Reddick.
Friend on the pod because he's been on the pod.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that episode.
It's a really well done episode.
Awesome.
I mean, like, I will always recommend that people go back and listen to previous iteration of Would You Die, but if you need somewhere to start, I would say if you're into Wes Craven, that episode, the Nightmare episodes, if you're into the two of us talking, you can always listen to my guest episodes, Satanic Panic, Back to School, and then the other one that I did that has not come into my head.
Folk horror?
I think so.
And the Gremlin specials.
And the Gremlin specials, yes.
Yeah. So, how about you? Is this a fine addition to your collection?
I really want to own this. Yeah. I think once physical media becomes something that I'm making more of a priority, I'm going to try to get like the big horror movies first that I really enjoy, and then I'll collect some of the ones that are more like personal to me.
Cool.
So, yeah.
I love it.
All right, gentlemen, get out your Letterboxd reviews.
I think I got a couple reviews. Pedro.
What?
I opened my Letterboxd app and it was on the Fantastic Four.
Oh.
So I open up my app and Pedro's just staring at me. And I'm like, hello, dear friend. I gave this 5 stars and a heart. Me having a nightmare. What are you going to do? Stab me? Freddy. Funny you say that.
That's a good one. Jeremy?
I gave this movie 4.5 stars, and my review is simply Groundskeeper Willie's live-action equivalent is, in all caps, scary.
That's crazy.
I love that show.
So I rated this movie 3.5 stars. And I said, an absolute classic and very fun. This gets right into the action. Not my favorite because of the pacing, but such a phenomenal third act. And this is where I think that Wes Craven and Christopher Nolan have a lot in common. Because I think that their exposition could use some work. And I know that that's controversial, and I'm really sorry to everybody to let you down. But that's how I feel.
And that has been the Would You Die podcast. See you never, because we're done here. Goodbye. I bid you luck on your journey.
Anyway, so who wants to talk about Supernatural alumni?
I do.
So, one specific shout out before we get to our main one is Rachel. Are you sure you spelled this right?
Talele.
Okay.
Yeah.
Rachel Talele, who is the director and producer of several Freddy sequels, has directed one episode of Supernatural. And that episode is Hunted, which is season 2, episode 10. Obviously, this is kind of a technicality because she has directed sequels, not the actual
it's a
like
Freddy connection
movie,
so.
But it is a Freddy connection, exactly. And I'll probably bring this up, obviously, if we ever do more.
It is the one that she directed, Nightmare 6, Freddy's Dead.
Let me look that up.
Because we might as well shout her out now, because it'll be a while before we get to that one.
Yes, she did Freddy's Dead, The Final Nightmare. So
That's right. That's it.
She did the episode Hunted, which is a really, really integral episode, like, in the series. And basically, Dean and Sam, the brothers, they split up due to a disagreement. And then Sam runs into a psychic who is telling Sam about his impending death that is about to happen. And it's a very good episode filled with lots and lots of suspense. So that is phenomenal. The probably more notable Supernatural alumni from this movie is Robert Englund.
What?
Guest starred in one episode, season 6, episode 11, Appointment in Samara, where he plays longtime friend of the boys, Dr. Robert.
That's cool.
Who they run into him for backstory on something to do with their dad, and he gives them important information about that. And this is like one of many horror icons who have been like guest stars and Easter eggs in Supernatural just by virtue of the fact of like who they are. So really cool of him to do this, but also like you said, like this is kind of something Robert Englund does, is he will kind of lend his name and his notoriety to other franchises, and
Yeah.
And stuff like that.
Because, like, franchises and horror franchises and characters that, like, are not Freddy level.
Right, exactly.
But, you know, they're a young kid getting his star or whatever. He appeared in Wishmaster, which ended up getting sequels. Behind the Mask, The Rise of Leslie Vernon, Urban Legend, Hatchet. He appeared in Hatchet, with Victor Crowley becoming kind of like one of the bigger slashers of the mid-2000s. And these are just like the big ones. He's done smaller ones too.
He also this is just a fun fact. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the Goldbergs.
Yeah, I think I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, he did like a guest spot as Freddy Krueger in the episode Mr. Knifey Hands.
That is the last time that he's officially put on the makeup.
Yeah.
And that was recent. That was like 2020?
It was 2018.
Oh, 2018?
Yeah,
okay.
So it was a little before then, but not like a ton. But yeah.
The Goldbergs was big.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I like seeing Robert working. And like we said, Stranger Things.
Yes.
Season 4. Huge part. Huge part in that. But yeah, he was in a lot of stuff in the 70s. Freddy is his biggest. He said in an interview, I know when I die, my obituary in the first sentence is going to say, Robert Englund, Freddy Krueger, who played Freddy Krueger, has. He's like,
yeah.
I know it. Freddy Krueger's in the first sentence of my obituary.
Right.
And he's cool with it because it gave him so many opportunities. He said he loves working in the horror genre. His heart's in the theater, but kind of like Tony Todd, actually. But, like, you know, in the 80s, he was doing supporting roles in bigger movies. Like, he was in, I think it's called Pumping Iron, like one of the very first Arnold Schwarzenegger movies.
Yeah.
Robert Englund plays, like, his best friend. And just, like, kind of, like, supporting roles. Like, he was friends with Mark Hamill before Star Wars.
Yes.
And there's a famous story of, like, Robert Englund kind of going in for Apocalypse Now, and then he didn't get it, but they had him read for Star Wars, and then, like, he knew Mark Hamill at the time, and he's like, I actually know someone who might be good for this and help. And
which is crazy.
Right. But then in the 80s, the 1-2 punch of, like, he was on this very famous television show called V. Which, do you know V?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, you know. In case you don't know in the audience, V is like aliens.
Yeah, it's aliens like walking among us. Kind of conceptually.
I remember.
Bare bones.
I never seen the 80s version, but I remember when they did that reboot in the 2000s. Yeah. But
the reboot was pretty good.
I thought so. But was it pretty good, or was I 12?
That's fair. That's a good point. I hear you.
But between that and then A Nightmare on Elm Street, the 80s were very good to Robert. So, yeah.
Just another, like, fun fact, because I think it's hilarious. For another Easter egg roll, there was in the 2012 to 2017 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles TV show, there's an episode where the turtles get trapped in their dreams because they get trapped by these creatures called the Dream Beavers, who are feeding off of dreams, and 2 of the 4 Dream Beavers were voiced by Robert Englund.
That's really cool. That's really cool.
I just think that's fun.
What is our monthly superlative?
So our special edition superlative for this month is, what is your favorite shot? Obviously, Wes Craven is kind of a master of, like, very good stills or scenes. So that's kind of what we're going for here. So go ahead and tell me, unless you want me to go first.
I'll go. I mentioned it earlier, but it's the shot of Tina in the body bag looking at Nancy, sit like all bloodied and stuff. That's the image that sticks with me. That one's very up there for me. Other contender. Oh, I'll let you go before I say other contenders.
My favorite shot is also a Tina shot. Is Tina being dragged across the ceiling. I just think it's really eerie. And it's kind of the first time we get a glimpse of like the supernatural aspect of what's going on. So yeah, that's my favorite.
And there's a lot of contenders for me in this movie. Like there's a lot of great imagery. I think this is one of the most famous shots, but Nancy in the tub and then Freddy's clawed hand coming out.
Oh yeah.
Or when she's sleeping and like it's like a ghost coming out of the wall. Freddy's coming through that way. I think there's this really great image. I think it's it's Tina's nightmare and Freddy's just sitting there silhouetted against the harsh blue light and there's some fog. Like that's scary shit.
Yep.
The little girl's playing jump rope, singing the song.
Yeah.
Just great, iconic imagery. Fun fact about the Tina death, how they pulled that off is they built a rotating room.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
And they just had Tina, Amanda Wyss, who plays Tina, just dying,
right?
Acting, they repurposed that room to be Glenn's room. So they rotated it upside down and then dumped as much fake blood as they can to achieve the volcano eruption of blood.
Right.
And something malfunctioned. So the room rotated a bit, and that's why you see like the blood going sideways at some point. Oh. And it was so weird and eerie, like a happy accident that Wes Craven and his editor kept it in because it's like that's fucking scary.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
It's wild how far movies have come, right? Because like in 2025, we like that whole scene would be CGI'd or like it would be.
Or if it was practical effects, they'd be like. They wouldn't be a rotated room.
Yeah, like I can't imagine taking a step back and just being like, we're going to get this whole thing on a swivel,
But we talked about similarities between Wes Craven and Chris Nolan already. The other, in addition to Nightmare on Elm Street, the other huge dream movie I would say is Inception.
Right.
That famous like zero gravity hallway fight that Joseph Gordon-Levitt and the Dream Thugs, henchmen, I think is a better word, they had a rotating hall.
Oh, nice.
So
I didn't know that.
Just like Nightmare on Elm Street.
That's so cool.
But with a much bigger budget. And the reason why I said earlier Wes Craven could do Inception, but Chris Nolan can do Nightmare is I don't think Chris Nolan could pull off with that, but not anymore.
No.
Or like Memento, Chris Nolan, maybe.
Fair.
But Chris Nolan gets everything he wants now.
Well, that's true.
And well earned. I think he's a fantastic director. But Wes Craven, he could do like, if Wes Craven was given a bit more money, the things he would be able to do would have been awesome.
True. All right, Austin. Would you die?
No.
Why?
Because the key to beating Freddy is roasting his ass. And I played way too much Halo 3 on the Xbox 360 to be roasted, to be killed by some lasagna-looking, Christmas-loving motherfucker.
All right.
Like, why are you wearing a hat? You need to be wearing a mask. Like, I would get his ass.
That's real.
I would just... Because, like, when Nancy at the end is like, I'm taking away your power. I'm be like, I didn't even give you power to begin with.
Bitch.
Bitch. I'm your boyfriend now, Freddy. And then here's just leave me alone.
That's fair. That's good.
Unless Freddy turns into a spider, then I might be fucked.
And therein lies the issue.
How about you?
So I took it differently. I said yes because I love sleeping so much. Give me a dark room and like some background noise and I'm gone. Jeremy and I have tried for years to make it through a movie that's not for this podcast, and we have to do it in like 3 sessions every time because I fall asleep like halfway through. I love sleeping so much. I'm tired now. It's 6:45. And that's how I know I could never just stay awake. That would not be me.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Jeremy?
Same. There's no shot. Like, I think in my younger day, I was pretty good at the whole all-nighter thing. Give me a couple Red Bulls. I'd make it a few days.
Yeah.
In 2025, I'd make it half a day. I need my naps. Which is where he kills you, so...
Yeah.
So, where can the people find you guys on social medias?
You can find the Would You Die podcast at Would You Die Show on Insta and YouTube, and subscribe to us on YouTube because you can listen to the pod. You can watch our show Spooky Spotlight, hosted by Deanna Hope.
Yep.
You can watch our short films, which include Ice Cream, Spider, and The Blood Witch.
I like that.
Who I think is kind of Freddy coded.
That's real.
I think she has some Freddy in her.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
Mm-hmm. And she's kind of a sadistic motherfucker.
That's
true. I think.
Mm-hmm.
And she's got other influences too. The Insidious Demon, Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're kind of the same thing. But Rose the Hat, I thought a little bit of, but a lot of Freddy. A lot of Freddy is in her spirit, I think, at least. And
you think you made her?
And then
it's like, in my opinion, I can see the Freddy influences.
As somebody who analyzes film, if I were to analyze my film,
yeah, you get it. And then Ice Cream, I think, is kind of Nightmare inspired too.
Oh yeah, God.
But that wasn't intentional until I saw the footage and be like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
I like Nightmare.
Do you?
Yeah, because I kept saying Halloween on the day when we were shooting Ice Cream. I kept saying Halloween.
Which there's a little bit of that
Tilt
too.
your head
but...
like Mikey, my. Like there's a lot of Christine. There's a lot of Duel.
Mm-hmm.
That's intentional, but I didn't realize the Nightmare stuff until we were editing it.
Yeah.
And then there's Hellraiser. There's some Hellraiser in Ice Cream. So, but yeah, find us on Would You Die Show on YouTube. Instagram, you can find me, Austin M. Torres, on all the socials at Austin M. Torres. How about you?
You can find me at Whimsawillow, mostly on Instagram and Letterboxd.
You can find me on Instagram, Letterboxd. Again, you can find me on X. I wouldn't unless you really care about the Detroit Tigers and my anger about them. At Annually Funny.
Are we calling it X now?
I don't want to.
We're calling
I don't even want to use it.
Well, then stop.
But I have to.
Twitter. Our wonderful producer is Jeremy Lippitt. Our gorgeous music that you hear at the beginning and end of every episode is by Josie Palmer. Our illustrious designs on Instagram and all of the social medias are done by Alec Gibson at Crosshook Creative. Austin, you got a hint for next week for our next Wes Craven?
So we're going from the 80s to the 90s. We are not talking about Scream because that is too obvious. But it is a banger, and I'm so excited for it. Shout out to my friends Bobby and Michael from the People Under the Scares podcast, because I think they'll appreciate this pick.
For sure. I'm Anneliese Petersmark.
And I'm Austin Torres. Try not to die.